Hello and welcome to the show. Once again, we have a fabulous lineup of guests to energise and inspire you.
It's time to wake up your wow with your host, international award-winning speaker, Cath Vincent.
On the show today, we have speaker, traveller, inventor and father of two, Samuel Gibson, who is only 3 feet tall, talking about his life as an ordinary guy. So Samuel, thank you so much for flying in today to see us.
That's my pleasure. It's very nice to be here.
So the first thing that people would notice about you is that you have an extreme disability.
Sure, I understand that I was born with a genetic condition called osteogenesis imperfecta. Briefly, that's just brittle bones. So it means that my bones haven't grown and developed like yours have. Yeah. And it's probably the first thing that you notice when you meet me. But I think if you asked any of my family or colleagues or friends, disabled would be the last word they would use to describe me. And that's certainly not something that I focus on or give any airtime at all to.
Yeah, well the reality is that you've actually created a life that many people only dream of.
Well, I have a lot to be thankful for. That's absolutely no doubt about that. We live in a wonderful little place called Havelock North in the Hawke's Bay, and we have a great life. And, you know, it may sound cliche, but life is what you make of it. And I believe life's a gift, and it's up to me to get the most out of it. And that's my approach to it every day.
So what sort of practical challenges do you face every day? Give us some insight into what it's like to be you.
Well, as I said, I really don't think about it. But from your perspective, yes, I can't walk. So I rely on a wheelchair to get around. And on that, we've actually worked at making our own wheelchair, which can enable me to be fully independent. So there's that reliance on an aid for mobility.
You've actually invented a wheelchair that's been manufactured now.
Yes, I was part of a development project, which we now export all around the world, which is pretty neat to see.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I guess I've been somehow enabled to make my own life easier, but also hopefully the lives of others as well.
Yeah. And you work for a living, you've got a mortgage, you're a parent, all those things.
I tick all those boxes. You know, if you asked me how I'd describe myself, it would be a pretty regular Kiwi bloke. You know, I've got a great life, I've got a lot to be thankful for. I've got normal goals and hobbies and aspirations and yeah.
So you're married to Jennifer?
I am, that's right.
And how did the two of you meet?
Well, it's quite a story. We was 12 years ago now. We were both travelling, backpacking. She's Canadian, and we were.
So you were backpacking. Tell me how that actually works.
Okay, I can understand how that might be a strange thing to say, but we literally were. I was with my mate, and we were in Southeast Asia, northern Thailand actually. And we were getting ready to cross over the Mekong River, which is the border between Thailand and Laos. Yeah. And we met a couple of Canadian girls, and we happened to be going in the same direction, and we just kind of teamed up, and off we went. And yeah, that was the first day I met Jen, and my life's never been the same, I guess you could say. Yeah, we carried on our journey together, which was down that Mekong River and through the Laos jungle, and enjoyed a pretty amazing first 2 weeks of our lives together.
Yeah, that part of the world would not be set up for wheelchairs at all. I found it tough. I found backpacking in that region tough.
Yeah, that's probably a fairly accurate comment. I don't think wheelchairs or mobility issues factor at all in the way that they live. You know, what roads there are mud or dirt. The main highways are rivers. And so there was plenty of interesting challenges to get around, but it was a great time.
So by definition, you must rely on goodwill of other people.
Absolutely. I'm very, very lucky to have a lot of great people in my life. I think though, having a so-called disability does bring the best out of people. Yeah. It's not something I focus on at all. And I think people can possibly see that, and I think it brings the best out of them. And yeah, I I love every day, and every day is a new challenge and an adventure.
And so what do you do in your day job? Tell me a bit about that.
I work for an engineering company. We're called RCR, and I'm in the finance team there. So I studied commerce, and I have a job in the team. I wear a few hats. I've got my own little business which owns the IP to the wheelchair. As well as lately I've sort of put myself out there as a speaker. For a long time people asked me to share my story, and for as long as I could I always said no. For a few reasons. One is I'm not naturally someone to put myself out in front of a crowd, but also I genuinely believe that I didn't really have anything interesting to talk about.
Wow.
I'm a pretty average Kiwi bloke. I've got a mortgage and a family and a job and all of those things. So what's interesting about that? But I knew that they were asking me to speak because I was so-called disabled,
Yeah.
and would somehow be inspirational.
Yeah.
And I just didn't relate to that at all. But as I've grown older, I've come to understand that we actually all have a story, and we all have something to share. And I think the more we do that, the more we can draw from each other, and the better people we become.
Yeah. There are some people who are watching this who think, oh, I should be grateful for my life. I'm not, but I should be. What would you say to them?
Absolutely. You know, there's some things in life we don't have any say in. We all agree with that. And there's three things that I put down to luck. One is that I was born in New Zealand. I believe the best country in the world. I'm sure you agree with that. We live in a day and age where we've got all the resource and technology to have a very good life. Yeah. And I was born into a family and a community who genuinely care and who want the best for everyone, including me. And so that said, I believe I'm lucky, and I think that a lot of people should be able to relate to that.
Yeah. And so how does your activity operate around them? I mean, I can't imagine how you cope with all of that.
Sure. Well, look, you just do. My philosophy, and it's been from ever since I can remember, is that there's always a way. If you want something, there's always a way to get it. There's always a way to make it work. And I have a pretty cool wheelchair, as I mentioned, and you know, when they were babies, they would ride on the footplate in front of me, and I would take them out for fluffies and coffees into the park, and now they're big and they zoom around on their scooters, and I struggle to keep up with that, but I can yell quite loudly. But so we just make it work, and they love their daddy. They think he's all right. Yeah.
He's all right, isn't he? So, I mean, having spoken to you, the least remarkable thing about you is your disability. In fact, I'd so much forgotten about it since we spoke. I made no provision at all. Thinking, oh gosh, how are we going to get this wheelchair up? And I was really stressed, and you weren't worried at all.
Right, I did arrive and see the big flight of stairs and thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. But look, there's no point in worrying about it. There's no point in worrying about things that we can't control. And like I said, there's always a way. We made it work. I'm here.
Yeah.
And my wheelchair's still downstairs, and hopefully it's still there.
It's
no
double
one's driven
parked.
off with it. Yeah, probably got a few tickets by now. But no, exactly. We just made it work, didn't we?
We absolutely did.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in. And you heard it from Samuel. There's always a way. Thank you.
Thank you, Kath.